Hey everybody, welcome back to TomGirl, where we talk all things sports, entertainment, fashion, and adventure. And tonight we have an excellent one for you. It's actor, writer, producer, director. She does it all. Marcia Kimpton. Stay tuned.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hey everybody, welcome back to TomGirl. I'm JJ Jurgens, and I have Marcia here. Marcia, thank you so much for coming in tonight.
It's really exciting.
Yeah, we're going to get right to it. You have a new film out, your first feature film debut, Bardo Blues.
Yeah, it's a dream come true. I mean, as a woman, 4% of us get directing jobs, but I wrote this, directed it, produced it, and acted because that was the only way the movie was going to be made.
I love it, and you had to make it happen.
I love what I do. It's just the economics in this business, and especially if you don't have a really known name. But I found an incredible actor, Stephen McClintock, and I just feel like he stole the show, and I'm really proud of the film.
He did do a great job. We have a still of him. We'll go through some of the stills from the film real quick. So that, of course, is your key art, your main poster.
Yeah, he's in
great.
it, and the Buddhas are crashing in, and the idea there is that it's not necessarily a spiritual film, it's a thriller, but the idea that the Buddhas or, spirituality or light comes crashing in if you can't get out of your darkness.
And go ahead and roll through the stills. We'll go through those real quickly here because I think Stephen is the next one up. What was the casting process for him? Skip to the next one.
Yeah, that's him on the bridge shot.
I'm sorry, you're in the PDF, click to the next file, photo 2. There we go. Thank you.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's the first day we were filming. And the first day of filming, acting, and directing, we didn't even have a props person because I couldn't afford it. Boy, that was challenging. I mean, I loved it, but you have to have such intense concentration. Stephen, on the other hand, would go offset and he would stay in the zone of the character Jack. And I actually met him, thanks to my daughter, at this incredible restaurant in Venice called Jelena. He was a waiter, but he was taking tons of acting. And this is his first film. I mean, he had done...
wow.
I know, can you believe that?
I really can't. He was fantastic.
And we've gotten 30 awards, and he just won, I think, his 4th or 5th Best Actor award. I'm losing touch with how many, but getting into the big ones like Sundance is really, really complex. I feel like we could have, but you have to have a big agent pushing for you. So I did the smaller festivals, and they really watch the films and they care about them. So it's really exciting.
Tell people, because this was just released May 3rd, correct? It's just out there now on Apple and different places.
Yeah, it's on iTunes. It's on all video on demand platforms, which means any cable outlet. But you have to look a little bit further. It's not just up with the big, blockbusters. You have to look for indie films. DirecTV, it's also on iTunes. And we were #1 on the iTunes trailers for the first 3 days. And that's with such a little promotional budget. It's really remarkable. Right. And we've been staying in the top 50 for quite a long time, which is exciting. It's also on Amazon, but it's not on Prime where you get it free. You have to pay for it because the distributor freestyle has been so supportive. But the bottom line is that they may take a risk with a bigger name, but this is a small movie, even though it's a big movie to me. Yeah,
no, it's an excellent movie. How has that been watching it get, the awards at the film festivals? You've gotten awards. It's, really getting a lot of traction.
In the beginning, I have to be honest, we only got a few, and it was really discouraging. And that's before I just assumed I was going to get in the big ones, and that's before we even had a distributor. So I kind of had to refocus again and really believe in my film. I kind of changed the ending a little bit, so it's a recap so that you can digest all the information, because many people that have seen it a second time like it more, which I think is the greatest compliment. Yeah. So for a while there was a real lull for a year. I mean, I am a testament you never give up on your dreams, and that's why I wrote a book called Escaping Hollywood Bardo, because then I just decided, well, then I'm going in the small festivals, and it's an economic thing, because you get rejected from as many festivals as you get in. And then we just kept on winning all the awards. And then that kind of gave you back all that wonderful momentum. But I needed to save quite a bit of money in order to promote it. I still didn't have a high budget. That's why being in the top, 25 on iTunes for the best trailers really is amazing. And then iTunes is keeping us featured, even if we go lower on the charts. So obviously iTunes has seen the film and really supports us. So now I have to tell you, this last week when it was in New York, LA, San Francisco, and Chicago, only for one night, which is my hometown, it was the best week of my life. It really was.
Yeah.
I'm just exhausted. So.
Yeah, but a good exhausted, right?
Really
like that.
good. Yeah, really good.
For some people who haven't heard yet, tell us a little bit about what the film's about.
Well, the way we're marketing it is really a thriller. And we're finding that kind of a lot of the people that are really interested are between 22 and 45 men. But the interesting thing is the people that take the journey with the film, then it appeals to both, of course, men and women. And I would say probably the youngest we probably go is 16. And it's about the journey of life. This man goes to Thailand looking for something, and he finds out that he finds something completely different. So often in life you think, well, if you find this, you're going to be happy. Or if you see that, you're going to be happy. And it really is the journey of the internal mind and the daily process of the ups and downs that we all go through. And, of course, the ending has a surprise, so I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, we're not going to do spoilers here, so you'll just have to watch. But without spoiling, there were a lot of themes that I liked, too. A couple of them was like life is about repeating old patterns until they're broken.
Yes.
The main character says that on Bike Ride.
Yeah, and I wrote that.
You said it, right? Yeah.
Well, Anthony Taylor rewrote the screenplay that I wrote because it wasn't very good. He made it really, I think, brilliant. And I know I'm bragging here, but I just think there's so many great one-liners. But when you go to the spiritual one-liners, those are pretty much me, because Hollywood was so difficult for me. It took me 8 years to get on TV, and it was only in San Francisco. I met every male executive here. I met everybody, and I was, with huge agents saying, you're going to be the first woman in late night. And it didn't happen. I did get my own late night show in San Francisco. Budweiser sponsored it. I was off 14 weeks later. And so I ended up so discouraged about Hollywood. I went to study Buddhism, a man, Emanuel Swedenborg, who's a 17th century mystic based on Christianity. And I wanted to merge the concepts of both the Western Christianity with the Eastern Buddhism. So that line right there, you're about repeating your old patterns until, basically you wake up. It's a very Buddhist concept in the sense that if you keep on repeating it, you're going to die with that karma, and then you're going to keep on coming back. But I thought, what about a movie that would make you think about today and repeating your patterns? Because once you get old enough, you're pretty young, you start seeing these patterns that you keep on doing, and the only way your life is going to change is really by breaking them. But often some people just stay in their kind of limited patterns, and that becomes them. So I was really excited about kind of intertwining these Buddhist concepts. And I also like Buddhism because it's very neutral. People don't have, there's always controversy around Christianity or Judaism. Or Muslim. I just saw Buddhism seems to always, people always seem to be happy about that religion. So that's why I chose
the
it.
line on the pattern it resonated with me because I feel like I'm doing that in my own life, and there was a couple of things.
Repeating and repeating until you break it.
Yeah, and it's just like, okay, why? I'm butting my head up against the same, or feeling stuck and having that feeling of, feeling stuck, but I'm like, why am I stuck? Well, I'm doing the same things over and over thinking I'm going to get, different results or wanting to grow, and I'm not, because I'm not changing anything.
Yeah, well, it's good that you see it. A lot of people don't.
What are some of the other things? I know, you talk about challenges with Hollywood. What are other things, like either struggles or lessons you've learned kind of being a female, doing the acting, writing, directing, all that you've done?
Well, I think the reason why I did it all is because it was so challenging. So I figured if I learned how to do each role, right, and then hired people that were better than me, meaning the cinematographer, he helped co-direct. I got an acting coach for Steven. Anthony Taylor co-wrote the screenplay, and then Jason Shamai ended up editing. That if I could surround myself with people, there's so many artists in this town, that I could surround myself by great people, then I could create something great. And the challenges were that often they don't want great content. They really want often things that people put their hands in and they change it, and it's not necessarily better. It's just something that they think is better. Art is such a fine line because you have to create it through intuition and you have to explore it, and you never know if a movie's going to work. I just heard that Spike Lee had the comment that making a movie is impossible, but making a good movie is a miracle. And it really is, because you go in with the vision that what you want, and then if other people aren't ruining the vision, which is the challenge about Hollywood. You know, the greats like Steven Spielberg or Martin Scorsese, or recently Ava DuVernay, I'm not sure how to say her name, but as a female director, that they are strong enough in their vision that a lot of people aren't coming in and changing it. And that's what I knew I could do. One of the most interesting stories is that I wanted a non-linear film. And one of my favorite films ever is Babel. And I couldn't write it nonlinear. So we shot it. Well, you didn't never shoot it linear, but we shot 16 days in Thailand. So we had 90% of the film. And we're coming back to LA to shoot the other 3 days. I didn't have enough money. I ran out of money. And my brother ended up, helping me and was my sole investor. So in that process of not having enough money, right, I had to keep on pushing it back and keep on pushing it back. Well, I sat in that room with this linear film and found places where I could put a black spot in, that I could rewrite the script that we were doing in LA. So it was kind of more of a mystery. And it could be a flashback, or it could be actually going forward in your life. And that was the most exciting part of the creative process. And I tell you, if someone else had gotten involved, I wouldn't have been able to do that.
Yeah, that's one of the things I loved about it. Stylistically, I love that journey that it took you on as you were watching it, because you didn't know. It was
Thank you.
And then you're trying to put the pieces together, without spoiling. But I loved it. I thought it made a really good pace and rhythm and
Thank you.
uniqueness to the film.
Yeah, I've never seen a film quite like it with that story. And that's a rare thing, because mostly we're retelling stories. Yeah, and the reaction. I mean, every Q&A, and I have a Q&A, and that's why I'm going to have to run out.
Right.
Tonight, if you're near Hollywood Cine Lounge, I'll do the plug. We have a Q&A there tonight. But we did it in L.A., like I said, San Francisco, New York, and then I did special screenings already in Chicago and Boston. I'm going off to Seattle tomorrow, then I'm doing Phoenix. I just canceled Austin because I'm so exhausted. But each screening, the reaction of people coming up to me afterwards and talking about what it meant to them and what they didn't understand. And so curious and also so complimentary of the art is, you never know if anybody's going to like your art. You make this movie, and that's the hard part about Hollywood.
Yeah.
You have a vision, but it's not always easy to get it.
Yeah.
And then when you finally have it, is it working? You don't know.
What was that feeling the very first time you screened it to a group?
It was in San Francisco, where I had lived 25 years. And it was just amazing. But you know what? I changed the ending. I got a little bit depressed because I realized people didn't understand the ending, the surprise ending. So I wrote something that, I like French movies where they don't spill it, everything out in front of you. Americans do. But you got to go with your own culture. And I love America. So I ended up kind of recapping the ending, the bridge shot, if you remember. And everybody that's seen it the second time has loved it more because they understand it more. So it's just interesting and each environment is different. Sometimes people laugh at the funny parts. Some people are just, it's so silent. You can hear a pin drop. It's just, I don't know. Again, life does not get any better than this right now.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so happy for you. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
We'll talk about the book a little bit too while we have this.
Well, what it is, I mean, should we put it up right
Yeah.
here? The plug, Escaping Hollywood Bardo. I put myself in front of the center of the two Buddhas versus Stephen, or the character Jack. What it is that I felt like I had to tell my story mostly for women that are younger than me, that about not giving up on your dream. I mean, my dream did happen. Will it be a blockbuster? That's what I dream. But you know what? The dream of creating art and getting people to respond to your art. But it's just been such a difficult journey. And I don't want to complain and do the woman card. But today I was just put in a position, which I will not go into the story. And I knew that I was only talking to men. And I'm fighting for what is right about a situation where I'm owed money. And I knew that being a woman made a difference. And I finally did I fought so hard. And I just don't understand why you have to fight so hard. And we have this body, but our minds are, if anything, more sensitive often, and we're not telling the stories from our perspective. Now, this movie is more from a male perspective, but the character is me, often a character that's gone depressed about her art not being seen. So I just put it in a male body. And then the fine line where depression can turn into mental illness, which happened to my brother. So it's a fine line, because I found yoga and meditation, and I have a deep sense of faith, even if I don't believe in one particular religion. And I don't know if Hollywood hadn't been so hard, right? If I would have had that happen to me. But it forced me. Otherwise, I was going to turn into extremely depressed and could be suicidal, and I could tell you I would definitely turn into alcoholic. So it was this basically talks about the ups and the downs. One of the chapters is about dancing next to Jennifer Aniston, and she's the first year in Friends, and I just thought for sure I was going to have a comedy show, like I was going to be Jennifer Aniston. I did comedy. And it didn't happen. And it was very strange dancing next to her. She was lovely and fine. But I saw this projection in myself in that situation. And what if my life, well, at that time, we didn't know she'd be worth $200 million, right. Marry and divorce Brad Pitt. But I love the way she's handled her career. I think she's so talented in both drama and comedy. And so I thought that was a great way of telling the story. Another one, it's not salacious at all, but I just thought I hadn't told anything but my best friends about the night I met Mick Jagger. He was my rock god, like many, and I finally met him. But I also contrast that with me waitressing, because right after my late night show went off the air, I'm back waitressing at 36 years old. So, or maybe in 37. So it's basically, it's a deeply spiritual book, but it's about how women deal with men in Hollywood, and without naming names, because then I won't be working in this town.
This town can definitely beat you down. And how are some of the ways that either was it moving to Aspen to get away from it, or were you able to keep the fight going?
Well, I just am very ambitious, so I always keep the fight going. But is the fight going to destroy me? And it was at times. So the biggest thing I did is find hot yoga. I'm not even going to say the name of the person that was harassing people too. But hot yoga, the sweating really made a difference. Diving in the ocean while I was living here was almost key. And a lot of people don't get to the ocean. But the ocean is a clearing way, and the salt and the water, even if it's cold, it's the best thing you could do. Recently, being in the Rocky Mountains, I am so happy. I didn't realize I needed nature because I only lived in major cities, because I was so ambitious and I love the arts. The best arts are, usually in New York and LA. So looking back, I regret that I didn't get to Colorado earlier, because I would have been happier. So I don't think I would have gone through as many ups and downs. If you get in nature, I think if you live in LA, you have to get in nature. If you're an artist, you have to get in nature. Otherwise, you're resorting to drugs and alcohol and the ups and downs of this business, because the business will single-handedly destroy you. I think it's hands down the hardest business in the world, because you have so many talented people fighting for one position, either a talk show host or an actor or a producer, a director, and then you have a very sexist business. So, white men are getting ahead, and I'm not racist, and I'm not also sexist. It's just the facts, So you have to keep, and that's where meditation is key, because meditation teaches you how your divine, like yoga, divine self is really timeless and it's eternal. And it's the outside world that is really making you go up and down instead of your internal world. But that took a long time to realize.
Yeah. Well, I know we don't have much time left. Anything else you want to say about this film, or what you hope people take away from it, or your mission for it?
Well, my mission is 10% of the proceeds is to go to find a cure to mental illness, because my brother really suffered from that. And secondly, I think secondly is if you do buy the film, you're supporting women directors, because we don't get any jobs. And so I had to self-fund this, and I'm seriously in debt to it. So I think that the most important thing that I want is that I want people to contemplate their lives and the choice that we have on a daily basis to choose a heavenly realm or a hellish realm. So maybe Hollywood is bringing me into hell, but am I going to choose to get out of there to be heavenly? And I just had this happen to me, an hour ago, going into this interview, and I didn't do a very good job. I was really mad at the people that were not treating me well. So that's what I want to go away with it. But I'm on a mission with this. I told Freestyle, the distributors, I am never giving up on it. Meaning I've got already a screenplay about big pharma corruption. And it's going to a huge actress that I'm hoping will say yes to it. And of course, I'm trying to write women roles. And I've got like 2 other screenplays, and I want to do this arts late night show. But the truth is, all these other amazing things that I'm about to do, this movie I am selling to the day I die, because I think it has a message that we all need to know. So I'm going back out in the fall around World Mental Health Day, and I'll go back out in the spring. And, I don't know how long I have to put my own money in to promote it, but I think that when you've not just done art, you have a message that people need to think about in their lives, then I think you never stop with it.
For those aspiring filmmakers out there, can you talk about some of the steps or like things that you learned that maybe you didn't know before you started this process that were necessary to get the film out there?
Well, that's a great question. So I didn't go to NYU Film School like I wished I had. I couldn't afford it at the time. So I ended up doing their extension class. So I would say for everybody, you've got to take one of those film extension classes. And then you learn about all the different aspects. The second thing is, take a screenwriting class online, because it really does help you learn how, with Final Draft, learning how to write the characters. And you just go and do it long and long and long, and then hopefully find a writing partner like I did that can edit it down. But the most important thing is that nobody taught me how to direct. And I love David Fincher, and I took one of his most boring movies that he made exciting, Social Network. I mean, Facebook Story, I'm sorry, it's nothing like his other movies, right? And so I turned it on silence, and I watched it 8 times. And I do that often on the plane. I just recently watched, I couldn't even watch it after a while on silence, American Hustle. It's such a brilliant film by David O. Russell. And I'll watch it silent, and then you realize that something is always moving in the frame. So you're moving or the camera's moving. And I learned that by watching David Fincher. And the other thing is I just took Ron Howard's masterclass. Oh my God. I mean, years ago, we didn't have masterclass. He had so many helpful tips that I'll use in directing my next film. I'll actually go rewatch it because it was so useful. So I think that doing all those things are the most important, but you have to have a vision. And I had this vision in Thailand, and when I got there for the location scouting, everything I had written, I found immediately. So when you have a vision, you kind of almost co-create that vision, and then it's coming onto the frame. But if the cinematography wasn't so great by Justin Ian McAleese, it would have looked a lot more boring than the way I had envisioned.
Yeah. Oh, it was beautiful. It made you want to travel. Like, I wanted to go there now.
Oh, I'm so glad.
So
That's
beautiful.
the greatest compliment.
Yeah. How did you decide to shoot in Thailand?
Well, I just love it. Yeah. And I felt like it merged this East and West. So we had the Western, kind of the whiter culture, and not that that's Western, but it merged with the Eastern, which is more Asian. And there was also a sense of peace. And I really wanted, while the character was struggling internally, and maybe even externally, you could say, I wanted this sense of peace, and Thailand just has that, especially northern Thailand. You just have this sense of peace. So there was something that I just loved about it, and I had to go back. And visually, it was stunning, I felt.
Yeah, it was beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, definitely, guys, go check this out. It was such a great film. You did such a great job.
Thank you. And it's so easy. It's on iTunes and Amazon. Or Hollywood Cinema Lounge. What time is it? Oh, my God, I got to go.
All right. Tell everybody, also, you have another project coming out. Is My Reality?
Well, yeah. My Reality was actually a full-length feature film, and I'm making it into a TV series. And it is going to be up the second I have a moment to put it up on distributor. That's the cool thing. You can also put things up on distributor today and get an audience, and people will come to it. So it's all comedy, and it's a dark comedy, partially based on my life, of trying to work in TV.
Yeah. It sounds great. I'll be sure to check that one out too. Well, thank you so much for coming and taking the time. Good luck with everything in the film. And
great interview, because I interview people. You really did your research, so I appreciate it.
Thank you, of course.
Thank you, JJ.
All right, guys, we'll see you here again next time. Bye-bye.
Great job.
Yeah, thank you.
I better run out of here. Do you have to have a picture?
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.